Today we'll be going over Kamasi Washington's The Epic. I have to admit, with this album, a lot of things attracted me to it. I hadn't really even heard of it until I seen an album cover. And oftentimes an album cover can pull you in. A lot of people say you never judge a book by its cover. But that's not necessarily true with records. I feel as though, when you put out a great album cover, it kind of draws you in a little bit more. It makes the overall aesthetic and experience of buying records more interesting and fully fulfilling. The other thing that drew me to this record, first off, would be the fact that it was in vinyl format, 3 LPs. 3 LPs is nowadays almost unheard of. 2 LPs, yeah, sure. 3 LPs is quite amazing. In CD form, it's in 2 CD, which is great. 2, I don't find a lot of artists do that even anymore. They don't have enough music or energy to produce an album of such expanding width. And with Kamasi Washington, and especially on this album, because there's a lot of amazing players on this album. There's a lot of amazing singers on this album. Even when you look at the production list, it's made by the same people that produced Black Lotus, which is an amazing feat in itself. The team on this album is an experience in itself, just to list, which truly adds to maybe the fact that this album is legendary and epic in itself. But listening to it, throw out there is a little bit for everybody on this record. As far as the fact that, okay, for instance, if you were a hip-hop artist and you were looking for an album to take beats from or little snippets of music, this album is like a treasure trove, and I think they had that in mind, especially working with Black Lotus. And it feels as though Kamasi Washington works with a lot of hip-hop artists or is interested in a lot of hip-hop. Watching interviews with him, he's such a great, nice guy, insightfully intelligent as well. And if you guys get the chance, please check out his Amoeba Records, What's in My Bag. It truly adds a sense of, or insight, I should say, into Kamasi Washington. And to bring it forward even into the album review, those elements really transcribe into Kamasi Washington, as far as the fact that there's so much music going on and so much, I would hate to say it like in a jazz form because it feels more symphonic or band oriented, or even as far as listening to maybe Middle Eastern music or Oriental music or just any kind of music in general. This is really a soulful stream experience in itself. The album starts off with a track with a lot of vocals on it, and in my experience, or from what I'm hearing, it seems as though Kamasi is taking this almost existential journey within himself, or maybe what he's listened to, as far as maybe his influence would go with John Coltrane, Alice Coltrane, or some of the more late 70s, 80s, pocket of these jazz musicians, Albert Ayler and stuff like that, or even as far as to go to Eric Dolphy. They were very influenced by the spiritual, and I feel as though Kamasi Washington kind of brings that forth on this record, is that it's a spiritual kind of thing. The lyrics kind of promote a spiritual kind of journey, and music-wise, I don't want to say this is a straightforward jazz record because it is 75% of the time, but it kind of brings forth this interesting R&B feel, at least maybe to my ears, stuff that maybe you might have heard on earlier R&B funk records where they were put on soundtracks for movies, like Truck Turner or Superfly and stuff like that. It's amazing that he can meld together so many different influences and make it sound so organic in a way, and he does it with such a great feel. As far as, soloing and stuff like that, I wouldn't say that this is like a cut record. Certain albums can be cut records, especially if you listen to, like Wynton Marsalis live. Those records are made so you could hear their cuts or chops, as you might want to say. This is definitely like a record or standalone feel, something that you might want to talk about with your friends or other musicians even, about the full-fledged force of this album and how it translates out, to the modern jazz scene. And I definitely feel I put this record on for a bunch of high school kids, and this was the kind of record that I wish would have been out when I was in high school. As far as there's a lot of things in this record that sound modern and vibrant to me. The colors, the changes, the meaning, the groove. It's something that might bring a sort of new feeling to jazz and promote jazz within the younger generations, I think. And when I put it on for the high schoolers, they were like, wow, it doesn't sound like old man jazz, the kind of thing. It's all very new sounding, and it translates well. So in so doing, listening to this entire record, as far as if I could say one word about it, it's new. And in that new, it's vibrant, exciting. It makes you feel like, oh, I want another record already, which I think he'll tease us for a while, because 3 LPs. I mean, unless he's already working on a new one, we'll really have to further digest this record, which took me a while to actually even do this review, because I am still digesting this record from start to finish. There's so much music on it that it's really hard to digest all in one sitting, even though I've done so probably about 2 or 3 times now. But it kind of lends back to, even in a Frank Zappa kind of way, Frank Zappa had this tendency to release these albums, that would have 3 LPs worth of music, and you were forced to listen to these like movements, and it's great, and that's the reason why I was drawn to Frank Zappa, the same reason I'm somewhat drawn to Kamasi, Washington, was the fact that there's so much music to go through. And that, I mean, really, when you're a music lover, that's really what you want to go for. And he pulls it off great. It's really a transcendental kind of thing, for me at least, to listen to these songs and feel it. And it's hard for me not to listen to an album in like a full experience. I like to listen to it from start to finish every time, or try to. But with this album, it seems as though a lot of times, like, I listen to one track over and over and over and over again, and then I move on to a next one, or I hit a next one. And I haven't done that since maybe I was like 10 or 12, which to bring you back to your youth a little bit, it's kind of great. It's hard sometimes to find bands that make you, repeatedly listen to. I heard a comedian the one time, he said, when I bought Metallica's And Justice for All, I didn't listen to the entire album for like 3 or 4 months, because I just kept listening to the first song over and over and over and over again, because I'd never heard anything like it. And that's kind of what it's like with Kamasi, Washington. I keep on listening to the songs over and over and over again, because I've never really heard anything like it. And to translate that out to why maybe you should buy this album is because, young person trying to get into jazz, this might be a great album to jump on the boat with, or, broaden your horizons. And definitely check out a lot of interviews with Kamasi Washington. Such an intelligent person, and his influences are vast, and maybe you could pick something out of what he listens to. The guy rides around listening to Alice Coltrane in his car, maybe a little weird, but still ingenious. I mean, who would do that? You'd freak so many people out, but still be cool. So if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment box below. And if you have any albums you'd like to see us review, please tell us, and feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. And as always, we thank you so very much. Bye.